Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned the honor and privilege of your subscription. And of course, everybody who's watching, if you enjoy this video or get anything out of it, I would appreciate it if you take a second just to click that thumbs up button down below. It's a great way to support my channel, and you don't have to spend any money. And of course, for those of you who would like to help support my channel financially so that I can keep making videos about building guitars, you can visit eguitarappliance.com or my Highline Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below, and any purchase you make there is going to help support the channel financially. Or you can keep it really simple and just click the thanks button and leave a tip in the amount that you think is fair. So what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is guitar balance. Now, in a video I made last week, I talked about the weight of a guitar, and balance is sort of an offshoot of the weight. As you know, no one wants to stand up on stage with a guitar that weighs 10 or 12 pounds for any length of time because it's fatiguing. And when the guitar is fatiguing to try to play, it affects your performance. Well, balance also plays into this because if a guitar isn't balanced correctly, you can suffer what is known as neck dive. And let me show you what that is. This particular guitar is pretty well balanced. As I stand here, if I let go of the guitar, it stays perfectly horizontally level. But if the guitar wasn't balanced, the headstock is either going to suddenly flip up, or more likely, because it's going to be heavier, it's going to drop down. And this causes a problem when you let go of the guitar. If the neck dives, it can hit the ground, or it can hit an amplifier or a chair or your bass player or lead singer. And when that headstock strikes something immovable, there's a chance it could snap off. And I know many of you have experienced this before, where you've let go of your guitar and it suddenly dies, hits the ground or hits a chair or hits something and breaks. Nothing is more depressing than to have your headstock snap off because of neck dive. So the question is, how do we plan a guitar build so that we avoid the potential for neck dive? Well, I've seen a lot of techniques that folks use for trying to determine this. One of them involves determining the center of balance on the guitar itself. And it's done by determining the vertical balance as well as the horizontal balance. And once you figure this out where it is and mark it, you can mathematically determine where the center of balance is going to be for the guitar. And then from there, you can figure out where to place the strap buttons in order to ensure that the guitar is going to balance and you're not going to have that headstock dive. The problem with this is you can't do it until the guitar is completely finished. It's strung up and it's ready to go. The only thing that hasn't been done is the installation of the strap buttons. That's when you would determine these balance points. However, what do you do before the guitar has even been built? When you're in the planning phase, how can you determine? Well, I'm sure that there are formulas and mathematical calculations that you can make based on the design of your guitar, especially if you're using CAD software to design it. That oftentimes has the ability to help you to calculate where those balance points are, although it gets very, very complicated because you have to know the weight of the material, the weight of all the components, and do those calculations. And it gets very complicated. I don't do it that way. Now, if you do it that way, if you have a method or technique, please put it down in the comments section below. It's a great way for all of us to learn how each of us do or perform the function of planning a guitar's balance. I don't do it that way. I don't use calculations or formulas or anything like that. Instead, what I do is, well, first of all, my guitars are designed to be fairly conventional in their shape appearance. Now, obviously I try to go with original designs. That's my intention. whenever I build a guitar. However, I try to differentiate the design. But as you can see, my guitars have a fairly conventional guitar shape. It's recognizable. And that's the first step. By going with shape, or general shapes that are recognizable, you're building a guitar that's similar to what so many others have built in the past. And so they've already figured out, you know, what the best solution is for balance and the placement of strap buttons. But the other thing I do is I use conventional materials. In this case, I've got a mahogany body base with it's about a 1/2 inch thick walnut top, a maple neck, and a rosewood fretboard. Those are all fairly conventional materials. I know roughly what their weight is going to be, and I know from experience how they're going to balance. The way I do balance is once the guitar is completely finished and everything is done, all the work is done, it's strung up, I've even got the strap buttons in place, I'll put the guitar on just like you see here. And if I suffer, or if this guitar experiences neck dive, then I know I've got to reduce the weight up here at the headstock. And typically the best way to do that is to go with tuners that are lighter in weight. And in this case, I'm using hip shot locking tuners. But if I wanted to, what I could do is replace these. If I had an issue with neck dive, I could replace these with their open gear tuners, which are significantly lighter in weight. And in fact, there are a lot of tuners out there on the market that are significantly lighter in weight than what I'm using currently. Locking tuners tend to be your heaviest tuners. So I can always replace those to get the balance where it needs to be. And fortunately in this case, because I think I have this slightly heavier walnut top, the guitar balances pretty well. So I don't have to be too concerned about that. But there have been occasions in the past where I've had problems with that headstock dive. And as a result, I had to explore different options for tuners in order to lighten it up. I also, when I'm planning a guitar build, if I'm concerned that this guitar is going, or that the guitar I'm building is going to have an issue with headstock dive, what I can do is reduce the size of the headstock and make it as small as I can possibly make it. Now this one's fairly small. However, even after the fact, if I felt it was necessary, I might be able to shave it down even more. But in terms of work that I can do after the fact, there isn't a whole lot I can do except for changing the tuners. That's really just about the only thing you can do after you've built the guitar to get it to balance correctly. But, you know, before you go to all that trouble, you have to ask yourself, is this really that important? Oftentimes you'll find that even if a guitar has an issue with neck dive, when you don't have it slung around your neck, once you have it around your neck, it may not be that big of an issue. You may not have a problem with it diving. And so therefore it may not be that big of an issue that you need to resolve. So you just kind of have to play around with it and see what you think. But as far as trying to do, you know, mathematical formulas to pre-calculate the balance point of your guitar before you ever even build it, it's not going to be as reliable as one would think. And, you know, I ask for some of you who use these techniques to post your approach down in the comments section below. But when you do that, I'd also like to know how successful you are when using those formulas. Does it work 100% of the time? Or are there occasions when you're surprised and discover that despite the effort you made to plan the balance of your guitar, it didn't work out that way? Maybe because of component selection or the species of wood that you used when you built the guitar. So, but I guess the bottom line is the one thing we all want to avoid when building our guitars is the dreaded headstock dive or neck dive, whatever you want to call it. But it's a simple matter of replacing the tuners that can help resolve that. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it gives you some food for thought when it comes to planning out your next guitar build. If so, be sure to click that thumbs up button. Visit eguitarplans.com, visit Highline Guitars merch store, click the thanks button, leave a tip, and I hope to see you back for future guitar building videos.